it's your girlfriend Amor, and for today's video, I will be discussing about the understanding and using of theories. So now, we always have the desire to understand how the world works, just as in trying to understand the changing seasons, the weather, and even the patterns of stars in the skies. Theories are explanations of information, observations, and life experiences. These are based on the thoughts and studies of one person or even a group of people. Wow! And I think the benefit of a theory is that it helps us to understand the possible relationship between separate events. Will you believe that infants who cry are communicating their needs and thus require a response? Or will you believe that infants who cry must be ignored so that their crying will be decreased? It is important for you, yes, for you, or for us, to think about which theories are most supported by research and then apply those theories to our work. So now, let us dig deeper about this chapter, about the understanding and using of theories. This chapter does not provide a history of theories or even an overview of recent theories. Instead, we introduce the theories that inform the beliefs and values expressed throughout the book that we are using. And the number one theory that I will be going to introduce to you first will be relationship-based theory. So relationship-based theory, it is most clearly describes the individual child's experience while also considering the social network in which he lives. It involves the recognition that children must be seen not as an isolated entities, but as forming part of a network of social relationships. And it requires a delicate balance between conceptions of the child as an individual and as social being. Relationships can differ depending on the different dimensions, just like the content of interaction, the diversity of interaction, the quality of interaction, the qualities that emerge from the different types of interaction, the complementarity versus reciprocity of the interaction, intimacy, interpersonal perception, and the commitment. Now, let's go to another theory, which will be the transactional and unified theories. Silent and instantaneous transactions are negotiated in each moment between infants and toddlers and the people around them. The environmental influences include the resources and behavior of the most important people in the child's life: parent, siblings, extended family, peers, friends, schools, and neighborhood communities. Just like what Samaroff and Mackenzie said, children affect their environment, and their environment affect the children. Children are neither doomed nor protected by their characteristics, nor by the characteristics of their caregivers alone. Anyway, let's always remember the 3 R's. The first R, remediation. The child could be changed through remediation. The second R, the redefinition. The meaning of the child's behavior to the parents could be changed through redefinition. And the last R will be reeducation. The parents' and caregiving reaction could be changed through reeducation or increasing skills and knowledge. Next theory, the bioecological system. This theory considers the effects of the family, community, and the society on the child. Yuri Bronfenbrenner, who proposed this theory, begins with his belief that the primary relationship needs to be with someone who can provide a sense of caring for a lifetime.
Oh my God! Wow!
Portrayed as a series of concentric circles emanating from the child, and these circles were divided into 5 components: microsystem, the mesosystem, the exosystem, the macrosystem, and the chronosystem. Microsystem, this includes the intermediate environment and family of the child that directly affects him. Mesosystem is about the relationship and the interaction between the people in that microsystem. Exosystem consists of settings that do not include the children but still affect them. Macrosystem, which refers to the values and laws of the society, and last, the chronosystem, addresses the element of time as it affects the child. And let's have another 3R. First R, respect. Respect the influence that the quality of relationships, culture, and the environment have on children's well-being, beliefs, and behavior. The second R, reflect. Reflect on each child's unique personality and behavior that changes over time. And the last R, the relate. Interact with children to develop relationship with them and their families. So now let's go to another theory, which is the eco-biodevelopmental theory. The eco-biodevelopmental theory puts together all aspects of health, an understanding of the effects of stressful environments and interventions to relieve them, and the new information from science about neurobiology and epigenetics. The eco-biodevelopmental theory proposes that a new approach to providing health and intervention services could make a significant difference in the lives and health of children whose background has traditionally contributed to poor health, poor relationships, and poor performance in school and work. Next theory, the theory of psychosocial development, which is under the category of emotional developmental theories. Erik Erikson, a psychologist who created a framework of stages to explain development from birth through adulthood, which he called the theory of psychosocial development. Here we can give emphasis to these primary stages, or the three important years of the child. First, the birth to 18 months, and the crisis is the trust versus mistrust. This is the first stage. Infants learn that teachers can be trusted to meet their needs and that the world is a safe, pleasant place to grow up. And we gonna grow up. Ibibigay kong puso.
We gonna go up. Ibibigay ko ang aking puso.
Wait a minute!
The second stage, which covers 18 months to 3 years, and the crisis is called autonomy versus shame and doubt, wherein toddlers discover that their actions are their own and enjoy independence, but they experience shame and doubt when corrected or criticized. Next, 3 to 6 years, initiative versus guilt. Children work hard to be responsible for their bodies, their toys, and their actions. When they are irresponsible or criticized, they may experience guilt. And that is the third stage. Next theory, the hierarchy of human needs. Abraham Maslow suggested that people are motivated to further their development because of needs that arise and the desire for growth. I will introduce to you the teacher's strategies to meet the children's basic needs, and these were divided and specified into 5 levels. Level 1. Ensure children's and families' physical needs are met in the classroom and through knowledge of community systems. Level 2. Ensure children's feelings of safety at all times. Level 3. Ensure children's sense of belonging to family, peer group, and community. Level 4. Ensure children's desire to master skills and gain knowledge. And the last, Level 5. ensure that children reach their full potential. Next, let's go to another theory, which is the attachment theory. Teachers utilizing attachment theory in their work are responsive to infants and toddlers in ways that help them feel safe. They help young infants manage their own feelings and reactions to difficulties and help toddlers feel free to explore while gently assuring them of their safety. Let's not take it any longer and let's move on to another theory. And this theory is called the interpersonal development theory. Stern, a psychoanalyst and developmental psychologist, asserts that infants experience themselves as separate beings from birth. He believes the child experiences moments in which he is aware of an internal and/or external experience. These moments become linked as memories or mental images. This experience of being occurs with a sense of self-agency or an ability to make things happen, a sense of self-coherence or awareness of being a complete contained entity, and last, a sense of continuity or the sensation of going on being. Next theory, the social cultural theory, and it is under the category of social development theories. Now, Lev Vygotsky's social-cultural theory is sometimes thought of as a cognitive theory. It is the social interactions that contribute to the child's ability to learn. Culture and social interactions influence what children learn and how they learn. The addition of the adult partner or even the other children to watch adds an important element to how children construct their knowledge about the world. In this theory, we have this term called zone of proximal development, or easily known as ZPD. It happens when children get just enough help and information from adults to allow them to figure out solutions to problems that are just beyond their reach independently. Next theory is the constructivist theory of learning, and it is under the category of cognitive development theory. Children as actively constructing their understanding of the world through their play and exploration. In this theory, we have this term called schemas, assimilation, accommodation, equilibrium, and disequilibrium. Schemas, mental structures of the child's current understanding of the world, while assimilation, children's first attempt to use their existing schemas to understand new information and new experiences. Accommodation happens when the schemas are not adequate to explain the information. The child creates new schemas to use in a process. Equilibrium, moments when the child's schemas and the information presented are in balance, and this equilibrium happens when the current schemas are not adequate for exploring or explaining new information. Next is the social learning or the cognitive theory. Social learning theory is now often referred to as social cognitive theory to recognize the importance of children's thinking abilities. Bandura. He emphasizes self-efficacy, the ability of humans to set goals, problem solve, and reflect. He also emphasizes that what children believe about how effective they are influences how they act. Next is the new science of learning. Learning is computational, learning is social, and learning uses a network of mirror neurons. Let's go on to the core knowledge theory. Elizabeth Spelk, a cognitive psychologist, based her core knowledge theory on the research on infant learning. This theory proposed that humans have evolved with inborn systems or brain structures ready to learn about those things necessary to survival. The four core knowledge system address how infants learn about objects, the agents, the numbers, and the geometry. Next theory is about Patricia Kuhl's perceptual mapping model, and it is under the category of the theory of language development. The basic premise of how infants learn language is that infants are able to figure out the structure of language in the first year of life before they can speak. They are able to predict which sounds in their primary language generally follow each other. Experience with hearing language changes how infants hear language. Infants map the most commonly heard language sounds in their brain. Next theory is about the social interaction theory. In this, social environment interacts with biology to influence language development. Infants and toddlers need responsive interaction with adults to learn a language and opportunities to communicate. And for the last topic that I will be introducing to you will be the applying theories to programs. Child development programs and relationship-based programs are examples on how these theories serves as a foundation for child development, and also on how these theories create a blueprint for both teachers and parents on understanding the child's development at all aspects. And that's the end for this chapter in regards to the understanding and using of theories. And I hope you have learned a lot from me, and thank you. See you soon for next vlog. Bye!
Hi guys! Welcome to another fruitful chapter with us. Now let's have the topic, the power of observation, learning about infants and toddlers. Observing as a powerful skill. Why? Because in this chapter, we will learn the importance of observing, ethical considerations for observing, methods for your observations, as well as how to record your observations. We will also learn the proper guidance on how to choose the best method for the purpose of your observation. Now let's have the question, why observation is important? First, teachers use observation as a powerful skill to learn more about infants and toddlers. Teachers learn about an individual's child's interest, development, perspectives, and then plan curriculum that is responsive to each child's interest and goals. Families and home visitors use observation information to plan experiences at home. Wow! Both teachers and family members use observation information to make needed changes in child's routine, guidance, and even in his environment. Now let's have the topic, the ethics of observing. Above all, we shall not harm children. We shall not participate in practices that are emotionally damaging, physically harmful, disrespectful, and intimidating to children. We shall use appropriate assessment systems. We shall strive to build individual relationships with each child and their family. We shall be responsible for protecting the confidentiality of the children and families by protecting all forms of verbal, written, and electronic communication. There are also ethical considerations such as having permission to observe and record observations of the child, respecting the parents' right to see the records, maintaining confidentiality, and writing and talking about children in respectful ways. So now let's have the question, what we can learn by observing. First, we can learn how infants and toddlers think and learn, what they are feeling and how they regulate their emotions, how they use their bodies, their interests, and what they especially enjoy, how they relate to others, their challenges, their many skills, the strategies children use to accomplish their goals, the interactions, materials, equipment, and toys to make available to children to encourage engagement, participation, and relationships. Now, how we observe to learn. First, we must consider the basic information such as the child's name, age, date of observation, settings, purpose of your observation, type of your observation, and the name of the person conducting the observation himself. Now let's discuss the different methods of observation. Number 1 is anecdotal record. Anecdotal records are short accounts of children's behavior written while or soon after the behavior occurs. They describe what happened in a factual way and include when and where it happened. They are usually brief descriptions that the teacher writes in an objective manner. Number 2 is running records. Running records are written observations that capture the details and sequence of children's behavior. When writing running records, try to write exactly what the children are doing and saying. Try to describe movements, facial expressions, and gestures. Number 3 is event sampling. Event sampling is used to record and analyze the nature of certain events. The collection of information about events, such as hitting incidents, usually begins with a question such as when and where and how does the child hit others. Observers may also question the frequency or how often the child exhibits a particular behavior. We must consider the following questions in using event sampling method. Number 1 question is, does aggressive behavior include hitting, biting, and yelling to another child? Next question is, does it include the child biting or hurting teachers as well as peers? And last question is, does the behavior need to seem intentional? Number 4 is charts and time sampling. An interesting way to observe and document children's choice of activity and their behavior is the use of charts. Time sampling involves developing a chart that is used to observe children's behavior at designated times. Note that time sampling did not reveal how many times the child played beside another child or alone. It did reveal what the child was doing at a certain time. Number 5 is documentations. Teachers use observations to analyze and understand how children learn and to plan a child-centered curriculum based on children's interests and goals. Documentations includes a series of photos, videos, recordings, and other visual means that are displayed to communicate the remarkable process of how infants and toddlers learn. Note that the intent of documentation is to explain, not merely to display. Now let's move on to another topic, which is observation as part of assessment. But first, let's discuss the developmental profiles. A developmental profile lists a sequence of behavior in domains such as communication, emotional, social, thinking, and motor development. A developmental profile outlines or profiles a child's development. Teachers and other observers watch a child over time in his home or program environment using the information to learn about his development and, if in a program, to plan responsibly for him. Number 1 is the ounce scale. The ounce scale is an assessment from birth 3.5. The ounce scale is organized around 6 meaningful areas of development. First is personal connections, or how children show trust. Feelings about self, or how children express who they are. Relationships with other children, or how children act with other children. Understanding and communicating, or how children explore and communicate. Exploration and problem solving, or how children explore and figure things out. Movements and coordination, or how children move and use their bodies. Number 2 is high scope core for infants and toddlers. The purpose of core child observation record is to provide teachers a method for observing children's development for determining whether children are developing the way they should be. The core covers these developmental areas: sense of self, social relations, creative representation, movement, music, communication and language, exploring objects, early quantity number, space, and time. Number 3 is the teaching strategies goal for infants, toddlers, and twos. This assessment provides sequential child behaviors in 4 areas: social or emotional, physical, cognitive, and language. The system is also designed to help teachers support the children with developmental delays or children with disabilities. And for the last part of this video, let's discuss what observers bring to observation. First is their past experiences, beliefs, and values. Past personal experiences, beliefs, and values about child rearing or culture may affect the observer's perspective. Number 2 is culture. Culture may provide a frame through which observers interpret behavior. Number 3 is presence. Observers try not to change the setting by their presence. If the observer knows the children, then observing is challenging because infants and toddlers have certain expectations to their teachers to respond to them as they typically do. Again, this is Jade Baunillo. See you in our next videos.